There is something inside you right now, not a thought, not a feeling, something older. It has been speaking to you for years, through that restlessness you cannot explain, through that longing that survives every achievement. You have felt it. You just never had the language for it. Ibn Arabi, the greatest mystic of the Islamic tradition, said something that should stop you completely. He said the soul does not speak in words. It speaks in the events of your life. Every confusion you carry, every wound that will not heal, that is not misfortune. That is a message written in a language you were never taught to read. Born in Andalusia in 1165, Ibn Arabi spent his entire life decoding this language. He called it the science of the batin, the hidden interior. He believed that beneath every human life, beneath every joy and every catastrophe, there was a divine conversation happening, and most people died without ever hearing a single word of it. But what is the soul actually saying? This is where Ibn Arabi's method becomes something entirely different from religion or philosophy. He said the soul communicates through 4 specific channels, and the moment you learn to recognize them, nothing in your life will ever look ordinary again. Everything will become a sign. The first channel is repetition. Ibn Arabi observed that whatever situation keeps returning to your life, the same kind of heartbreak, the same pattern of failure, the same feeling of being unseen, is not coincidence. The soul is repeating the lesson because the ego keeps refusing to receive it. Repetition is the soul's most patient form of teaching. Most people respond to repetition with frustration. They ask God, why does this keep happening to me? But Ibn Arabi would ask a completely different question. He would ask, what is the quality inside you that this situation is trying to dissolve? Because the soul does not create suffering randomly. It creates precisely the pressure needed to break open whatever remains sealed inside you. The second channel is the dream, and here Ibn Arabi enters territory that most scholars of his time were afraid to follow him into. He wrote an entire science of dream interpretation in the Futuhat al-Makkiyah, his monumental work of mystical knowledge. He said the dream world is not fantasy. It is the one place where the veils of the ego become thin enough for truth to enter. He taught that dreams speak in the language of symbols, and those symbols are deeply personal. Water in your dream does not mean what water means in a book. It means what water has always meant to your soul specifically, your history with it, your fear of it, your longing for it. The soul customizes its messages. It speaks to you in a dialect that only you can fully understand. The third channel is perhaps the most devastating to the modern mind. Ibn Arabi called it the al-Khayal, the imaginal world. He said there exists a realm between the physical and the divine, and human beings have access to it through contemplation, through stillness, through moments when the noise of ordinary life suddenly drops. In those moments, something arrives, an image, a knowing, a grief without a name. That nameless grief, Ibn Arabi considered it sacred. He said it was the soul recognizing the distance between where it currently exists and where it originally came from. The Quran speaks of this in Surah Al-Fajr, Ya ayyatuha al-nafs, al-mutmana, O tranquil soul, return to your Lord. The longing you feel is not a problem to be solved. It is the soul remembering its origin. The fourth channel is the most difficult to accept and the most powerful. Ibn Arabi said the people who enter your life are not random. Every significant encounter is the soul arranging a mirror for you. The person who irritates you most is showing you something you refuse to see in yourself. The person you love most is reflecting back the divine quality your soul is trying to embody. This is where his teaching becomes almost unbearable in its precision. He said, do not look at the person. Look at what the person reveals in you. Because other human beings are not obstacles or companions or enemies. They are instruments through which the divine speaks directly into your interior life. Every relationship is a form of revelation. But here is what separates Ibn Arabi from every other mystical teacher of his time. He did not tell you to run from the world to hear the soul's message. He did not say retreat to the mountains, abandon the marketplace, leave your family. He said the message is hidden inside ordinary life, inside the argument you had this morning, inside the work you do with your hands, inside the meal you ate in silence. He wrote in the Futuhat al-Hikam, his most dangerous and beautiful work, that God placed the entirety of his knowledge inside the human being, not in the angels, not in the heavens, inside you. The Quran confirms this in the most astonishing verse, Wa fi anfusikum, afala tubsaran, and within yourselves, do you not see? The soul's message is not coming from outside. It has always been written within. So how do you actually begin to decode it? Ibn Arabi gave a precise instruction. He He said, sit with your pain before you try to escape it, not to worship suffering, but to listen to what it is pointing toward. Pain in the soul is like pain in the body. It does not exist to destroy you. It exists to direct your attention towards something that needs to be seen, healed, or surrendered. He also taught the practice of muraqabah, deep witnessing of one's own interior states without judgment, not analysis, not explanation, pure witnessing. You observe the thought without becoming it. You feel the emotion without drowning in it. And in that space of pure observation, the soul's signal becomes audible. What was noise becomes language. What was chaos becomes direction. The great tragedy Ibn Arabi identified in human beings is not sin. It is not weakness. It is ghafla, heedlessness, the soul speaking constantly, and the human being too distracted, too defended, too entertained to hear it. The entire spiritual path, in his vision, is simply the long journey from deafness back to listening. And what does the soul ultimately say when you finally become still enough to hear it? Ibn Arabi spent 40 years and wrote over 300 books trying to translate the answer, but he always returned to the same essential message. The soul is telling you, you are not what you think you are. You are not the fear. You are not the wound. You are not the ego constructing a story about who deserves what. You are something far older, far vaster, far more luminous than anything you have ever allowed yourself to believe. The soul's message was never about your failures. It was never a warning or a punishment. It has always been an invitation back to the original self, the Ra, the spirit that Allah breathed directly into you before you were born into forgetting. And that breath has never stopped. It is breathing inside you right now. Even as you watch this, even in your silence, even in your confusion, the message is still arriving. The only question is, are you finally ready to listen?